In fact, I failed that class. But
But you could come back the next year?
I came back the next year, but I failed that class, and I was pretty sick that year. That's why I failed. I didn't attend too many classes, I believe. But got to come back the next year, and thank God I didn't have her again. And I heard later on that she got married and had how many kids, Red?
I don't know.
She got married and had about 8 kids. So,
She took it on with her kids.
yeah, I had in my first marriage, I had 6 kids, and they all went to Catholic school till 8th grade, and then they went to high school. But they got their Catholic education, and all good kids. And 12 years ago, I remarried to Janet, my lovely wife over there, and we live out on a bayou. We live in Cocodrie, and a little fishing village, and been living there for 20 years now. And it's a good life, and it's a good retirement place, and we're enjoying life. Thank you.
It's your turn now.
Ellen, yes, tell.
You go out.
Tell us a good one.
The good ones I can't tell. But I can recall having supper with Father Bastille. A lot of times I would be working late and he would invite me over. And one of the remarks that I can remember his making was, the most dangerous person in the world was a half-educated Cajun. Father Bastille had his detractors and he had his admirers. There are a lot of people today who worked with Father Bastille who would not read Father Peltier's book because they didn't believe any of it. I only had one time where I thought he treated me unfairly. And that was when he bought a great big whirlwind mowing machine with a sulky. And he and I cleaned the cemetery for the first time in history. It's quite humbling to realize that I replaced the sheep. But anyway, he had a great big gas tank on it, and he could ride for about an hour without stopping. And he had the thing full blast. I mean, it was as fast as the mower could go. He had me running in front of him, and this is in the heat of a summer's day in Louisiana. But he had me running ahead of him because there were a lot of bricks and limbs and wrought iron pieces on the ground, and he didn't want to ruin his machine. So I was running as fast as I could be ahead of him to clear a path. I got so tired that I decided, well, I'm going to make 3 rounds and rest a little bit because I couldn't take it anymore. He would have run right up my back. I mean, he wouldn't stop. So I stopped and rested to him, and he stopped the machine, just turned it off completely, and said, "What's the matter with you? Are you sick? Because if you're sick, go on home because I'm not paying you 50 cents an hour to lean on a tune." But that was the only time that I thought he treated me unfairly, and only because he didn't understand what I was doing. But I never had any problems with him. I think Father Bastille was a very proud man, because you got to realize he finished at 2 of the most prestigious seminaries in the world, St. Irenaeus in Lyon, and then Kendrick Seminary in St. Louis. So he was a very proud man, and he overcame a lot of obstacles in order to become a priest. And then look what he left, this magnificent church plant. He actually established 3 mission churches during his life. One was St. Agnes at Chapahula, a mission church of St. Lawrence. He founded a mission church here in Muntz, St. Isidore the Farmer. and then Sacred Heart in Norco, in addition to everything else he did. So I don't carry a brief for him, but he was a man that left a legacy that can hardly be matched by any priest that I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say again that I admired Father Basti myself, and I never had any problem with him, nor did my family. And he was a great man.
He did good.
Also, the nuns that were here, they were beautiful, intelligent women, young women. And they taught us more than we can ever remember. Not only about our faith, but about life in general. Thank you.
You want one, Sue?
Yes, I have a nun story.
Oh, okay.
I'm moving forward into the future, 2 years. When we were in the 8th grade and 9th, no, I guess seniors maybe, 11th grade, one of the nuns, Sister Martha, who we all feared because she was so severe and so strong and so forth.
Not
Sister
just
Martha.
Not
No,
not
wait.
to us.
High school, me,
Yeah, but
yeah.
We didn't have it. We didn't have
in
it.
the same school.
I'm talking about,
Blessed Sacrament?
no, Immaculate Conception. You people want to step outside? Anyhow, I clearly know who I'm talking about. So she said, what do you people do for fun? And we said, I don't know, we go home after school and, I don't know, we just play with sticks and rocks. And she said, well, you should be learning to dance at your age. Do you all know how to dance? And we said, well, no. And she said, and are you going to have like a prom at the, no, we're not planning a prom. She said, well, I'll tell you what, between now and then, you're going to learn how to dance. So she would take us into the baker shop, and she taught us these little simple steps. You keep me waiting till it's getting aggravating, you're a slow poke. And we danced and we practiced, and then on Fridays we'd come in here and we'd have just dances, fun dances, to get ready for the prom. So we got to be pretty good, but then we added jitterbugging and things because, you know, we were so progressive. And she would kind of shake her head at that. So we had probably several proms, but the one maybe 11th and 12th, the one I remember the most, this place became a garden. And on the stage, it was a big backdrop, it was a plantation home. And it was like old Southern Nights or something. So we went to the graveyard and we got, there was a little overhang around here once upon a time. We got moss and we hung it all across the room to add to the ambiance. So we came and we started dancing, and then we started scratching, and something was wrong. We didn't know what it was wrong. We didn't know maybe we should have cured the moss before we hung it across. There were bugs galore, as they say. So, but we had fun anyhow. So many years later, maybe just like 10 years ago, she came to Kathleen Calm Becknell's house, and several of us met there. And there she was, not a nun, but just a regular person. And we talked about that. And we said, what prompted you to think about even asking us if we danced? She said, I was a young girl. I was probably 18 at the time. I came from the bayou. We loved to dance. And she said, I couldn't believe that you all didn't know how to dance or like to dance. And so she said, that's why I did it. You know, it was for you. It was sort of like, oh my gosh, what a lovely person. So then we said, okay, watch this. So some of us got up and we danced for her. And we said, how are we doing? She said, not much better than you did. But that's a fun story about the nuns, because we all had them in the classroom and they were the way that they were. But those of us who became teachers know why they were the way that they were. That's how you got stuff done, you know. But you could also be a real person on the outside. So that's my story.
Okay, we didn't have too long. In high school. You want to tell us? No.
Right there's good.
Okay.
Slide over.
Okay, I graduated in 1960, but most of you know I lived right down the street, okay? So I grew up here. Father Strassel used to call me his little girl. I was always around this area. Well, of course, we came trick-or-treating, so I'm gonna tell something away from the school. A whole group of us would come, we'd go trick-or-treat, we'd go to Father Strassel, and he'd give us a little candy. Then we decided we'd go on to the convent. Well, let me tell you, we go to the convent and knocked on the door. We knocked on the door, nobody would come. So we decided we're going around, we're gonna scare them. So we go around the side of the convent, all of a sudden, there's a bucket of water that just fell over. And we're standing up there, we're looking, and one of them said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we were just cleaning up." Do you really believe that? I think she knew what we were doing, okay? The other little story I want to tell you, and y'all probably are familiar with this. I can remember in grammar school, God, this is the one thing that stuck in my head. I was very, very little person, and to go to the green onion, y'all called it, well, I didn't know what to call it, but that's, an upperclassman always had to go with the lower classmen. And I actually have a picture, I wish I brought it. I'm standing in front of the building, and the outhouse, whatever, and I'm standing there, and I'm this high, and there's this big tall person, and I think her name was Carolyn Landash, that's all I remember. But it was like you had to go with a senior. If you were in the first grade or second grade or something, and you had to go with one of them, you know. So those kind of things, when you grow up around here, they knew us from whatever. In fact, when I got married, my husband had a cousin who was a priest, and we wanted him to marry us. And Father Strasser would not allow it, because he said, nobody's gonna marry my little girl but me. So it made me feel so good that, you know, even coming to school here for the 12 years, living right here, you miss them a lot when, you know, when they're gone and you grow up. So, but I can agree with everybody on that. And my name's Claudette Morales. Robichaud Rogers.
I used to take a
So I got turned it off.
So Sean.
It's off.
Oh, it's off?
Maybe it's closing.
Anyhow, when I was in the 5th grade, I failed with 30 other classmates and I. And being the first one I failed in my family, I said, Lord, how am I going to go home with this report? And right before we got ready to get out of the class, Father Basti comes in. That Sister Margaret Mary was too easy on them kids. I said, thank God for you, Father Basti. Now I got a good excuse to go home with. That's all I got.
That's cute. I know one.
Now she's going to talk.
Yes,
When I wanted to talk.
A long time ago, during Sunday, going to church, when I was not that age, I was a small age. Father Basti, the women, like for Easter and everything, they wore these big hats. And Father stopped Mass one day, and he said, ladies, you are going to have to give up those hats, because nobody can see me. And they did give them up, you know. And a friend of mine, he and she and his husband, they started going to Mass in New Orleans. They wouldn't go back
To wear the hats.
because she couldn't wear her hats.
So, considering this is being taped,